Morning, everyone. Welcome to Insiders Elite. That was really crazy. I have a light blocking thing behind me, and it just fell down in front of me as I was about to start the show. Today there was a little bit of fear come in there. I thought someone was going to hit me in the head. Um, and today we're talking about fear. Fear is something that holds us back and has the potential to have huge impacts in our life, with the way we interact and really holding us back in what we do. And how we interact with people. It's a subject Jamie and I have spoken a lot about. It's something that we have had ourselves and we've had our challenges to overcome. And today we're going to share some stories and hopefully answer some questions for some people and really dig into the concept of fear. Jamie, welcome today.
Hey, welcome everyone. We're so glad to have you here on board. We see we've got some people online watching already. Yeah, fear. Fear is a big one. And if left unchecked, if done nothing with, it can cause some really serious shit to come up in your lives. You know, Mick and I, we've had some experiences even recently getting into some fear mindsets. We saw how that fear manifested and what the outcome of that fear was. And we thought, you know what? This is a major learning opportunity. Whether it's fear of not being enough, fear of not good enough, fear of loss, fear of falling, fear of being hurt, fear of not achieving your ultimate outcomes. Here's the thing though, when we're focusing in on that, when we're giving all that attention to that, to the fear, to the what ifs and all that, we're not actually focusing on what we want. A big portion of what we're going to jump into today is recognizing what it is that we do want. Because I'll tell you what, one of the antidotes to fear is getting up and doing it. Is getting up, pushing through, making it happen, making fear your bitch and showing it what really is possible. Now, I want to start off with a quote here. I watch a show, it's called The Blacklist, and there's a character on there. His name is Reddington. And one of the quotes that he came up with, and this is brilliant. If you're taking notes, you'll want to go ahead and write this down. He said, "Fear is a liar. It activates the enemy." Fear is a liar. It activates the enemy. I thought that was an absolutely brilliant quote. And it's something that we're going to talk about today, how fear really is the liar. And by going into that place of fear, that mindset of fear, it can really fuck you up. Mick, where do we start? Do we start with some questions? Do we start with some answers? Or do we start with some experiences that we've had that the fear has come out and that's maybe held us back? What do you think? Where's a great place for us to start?
I think we start with maybe a story or two about how fear's impacted us and maybe how we've overcome that. Maybe I think that'll help the viewers just to see, what's holding you back from taking that step. Like just something where it's come up in our lives. I think that would be super valuable. Might answer a few questions as we go. So I'll start, Jamie. For me, I'm like everybody else. Fear shows up in all sorts of things. I'm a big tough man, and I'm not scared of anything. Except for the things that scare the shit out of you. Like, what if, the fear of judgment, the fear of, like when we were about to start this show, Jamie said, let's do this show. I was super excited because I thought it was going to be cool. But on the inside, I was absolutely shitting myself. What if I don't look straight on the camera? What if my shirt's not on? Like, what if this, what if that? 100 million what ifs, which is that fear mindset, that spiral that gets caught up in your head, that self-talk where you're round and round and round in circles and you're worried about all the what ifs and what are the things, and your brain's looking for all the things that could hurt you and not focusing on all the things, the opportunities and all the things that you can get the benefit from it. You're just focusing 100% on all the things. You're in that protectionism mindset where you're like, I need to protect. And fear comes from the primal part of your brain, that the center little bit that you've had, that was designed to protect us from the saber-toothed tiger chasing us through the jungle. It's designed to look out for all the things that are going to hurt you. So quite often it gets in that spiral, is like, what can hurt me? It's in the protection mindset, not the giving or the serving or the opportunity mindset. And I was on the inside going round and round and round and round in circles. And it wasn't until I actually started the show and said the first word that all that disappeared, because you can still have fear, but you got taking the action is where courage is. People still have fear. Your brain still is going to look out for what's wrong, but being able to control that and then still take action is where the real juice is, So and even had opportunities in business, and just stress. And I've had opportunities in business which, if I explained them to you, you'd think, why didn't you do that? That sounds like a golden opportunity. But you get that fear mindset of, what if it goes wrong, or what if I lose? What happens here if we miss it? You know, and then you end up talking yourself out of the opportunity because you look for all the things that could go wrong, and you stop looking at all the things that could go right. And that's happened on a number of occasions. And lessons I've learned from that now is, when I recognize that fear, and I think it's all about being aware of it and being conscious. When I recognize that fear behavior, that fear self-talk that's coming in about whatever it is that's coming up for me, I go, that's interesting. Where's that fear coming from? All right, let's get my logical brain on and just weigh up all the good things and all the bad things. And then I start the analysis and take the fear out of it, take the emotion out of it. That eliminates that fear mindset for me. And that's something that's been super valuable for me to do. So I was, my light barrier is about to blow down on my head. So yeah, that's something that's been super valuable for me, Jamie. Has there been an occasion or any opportunities in recent times where fears come up for you, where it's made an impact on your life, good or bad, or you've overcome it? Or
Yeah, absolutely. This actually goes back quite a few years. I was a best man for a very good friend of mine quite some years back, and he was getting married. So here we are, and it's not just a typical marriage ceremony. He had a military, marriage ceremony and all that. So here I am, and of course I got my speech, and I stood up in front of this room, and people are dressed up in their dress clothes and all that, and I am absolutely scared shitless. And I didn't do well. I was fumbling. I had the cards. I had everything written out of exactly what I was going to say. But all I could focus on during that time was, oh my God, don't screw it up. Don't screw it up. Don't fumble. Stand up and make a really good representation. I was telling myself all the things that I really thought that I needed to do. But what was happening, I was actually reinforcing all the behaviors that I didn't want to have. I was giving them energy. I was giving them life. And because of that, I really didn't do that great. What it took to get beyond that and make that happen and crush it. I mean, here we are, we're in Facebook land, we're in, Instagram, LinkedIn, all these other places where we're getting this information out there. And the thought process of, oh my God, I got to get it right. That doesn't even come up anymore. When we first came out with this, sure, we wanted to make a good impression. We didn't know if anyone was watching or whatnot. Now we're getting thousands of views watching these Insiders Elite here. But it doesn't affect the way we perform because we're coming from the place of absolute rock solid belief. We switched our belief systems around from looking at all the stuff that could go wrong, all the bad things that could happen, all the times that we could screw up. And all of a sudden I'm on camera. It's like, oh God, what was I going to say? I don't worry about that stuff anymore. I have the belief, the innate belief inside me that whatever's going to come out is the exact right thing that needs to come out. I've eliminated and belayed all those fears because I recognize clearly within me that they didn't serve. I've begun a process of getting some negative associations around fear. And you're like, whoa, Jamie, negative? Well, hold on here. No, negative associations around fear is a really good thing. Let me explain. When I look at fear and I recognize that in no way, shape, or form is it serving me, or is it helping me to actually move towards my outcomes, I begin to get some negative associations of that fear. What are some negative associations? Well, if I cave into this fear, I'm not going to get done what I've claimed that I'm going to get done. I'm not going to get done what I've stated that I will do to move myself forward. Every day, I want to do something that scares me just a little bit because, number one, that way I know I'm alive. I love that little bit of a rush. That little bit of a thrill that I get when I go out and do something and make that big impact. These lives, Mick and I do these, they're not scripted. I mean, if I could turn the camera around, you could see what I'm looking at here. There's no script, there's no nothing on the screen. It all comes naturally. And that happens once you've taken the first step. What I would recommend is go back into Mick's profile, go back into my profile, go back to around the beginning of May of this year. And take a look at some of those videos that we did back then. It's all in there. The internet saves everything. You're going to see a very radical, different experience. How do we get past that fear? And one of our members in our group, Insiders Elite, asked this question: how do you push past the fear and show up consistently? My answer to that, and I'm going to see if Mick, if you've got a different answer, but my answer is number one, go out and do it. And then number two, do it again and do it again and do it again. Pretty soon you'll recognize that there's nothing to fear. Here's something though. As long as you don't take that action, there's too much unknown out there. There's too much uncertainty. You've got no proof that you can do it. And what happens is that fear grows. It's like a disease. It's growing, it's expanding. We don't want to do that. How do we crush it down? We step up, step on that problematic area and go ahead and do. The biggest thing you can do is go and do. Take that action towards the ultimate outcome, even if it's a small action. Even if it's taking one piece of your big scary outcome or big scary result and moving that forward, moving the needle on that, you'll quickly recognize that, hey, if I can do this, I wonder if I can do this. You're coming from that curiosity mindset. And when I'm curious, I'm not fearful. When I'm appreciative of the momentum that I've gained from taking those steps, I'm not fearful. You see, action is the antidote to fear. When you move things forward, regardless of the outcome, whether you get an expected outcome or an unexpected outcome. Notice I didn't say failure. Expected outcome or unexpected outcome. As long as you're taking those steps forward, you will find that there's less and less fear. It's tipping the scales in your favor to go out and make it happen. Let me ask you now, Mick, I kind of went on for a little bit there. What would you say in an answer to how you push past your fear and show up consistently? What would you share?
So for me, you said something really, really important there is when you don't take action, you give the fear energy, you give the negativity, the self-talk, you give it energy and you allow it to grow and to build. As soon as you take action and take a step forward, that fear stops. So something that's been super valuable for me is how to consistently move forward and it's about taking action too, and what Jamie said, but also knowing what it is that why you want to achieve that. If there's an opportunity out there and you're fearful of taking it, the first thing I do is go, well, why do I want to do this opportunity? Why do I want to do it? So having a belief about what's important about it to me, that gives you the power to then go, well, it's important to me. So all of those fear things are great, but I'm going to step forward anyway. If it's unimportant and you've got fear driving you there, you've got less fuel to step through that fear. So really understanding why things are important to you. If something's holding you back, well, why do I want to do this in the first place? I've obviously got some doubt there, some fear. What is it why do I want to achieve that goal? Or why is it that I want to buy that acreage property? Or why is it that I want to achieve this result in business? Because I can serve more people, or I can do this, or I can do that. It's going to provide for my family. Right, that's super important to me. Okay, well, then I need to take action. And then for me, it's all about is just take one step. Yep, the fear is going to be there. And I try to rationalize the fear because fear is an irrational emotion. So I try to rationalize the fear by, well, am I going to die from it? No. Is it still going to be on the front page of the newspaper next year? Probably not. Is it going to be on the front page of the newspaper tomorrow? I highly doubt it. Well, it's not that big of a fear. It's not that big of a deal. So it really rationalizing for me helps to control that spiral, because it's quite easy when you're in that fear mindset and you've got that negativity, and it's easy for us to sit here and say, well, just, take a step past it. But for me, a really practical step is you're in that. It's easy to get caught up in the spiral into this and be absolutely shit scared to take something, and you've convinced yourself that it's too hard and you can't because of this and that, and what if that happens, and what if they judge me, what if my shirt's wrong, what are they going to say about me around town? Oh, like we're not doing so well. What if everyone starts talking? Well, yeah, so be it. So you get yourself caught up in this huge spiral, and it's really easy. But when you rationalize that fear, it controls it. Because fear is irrational. You're like, oh, hang on a minute, and you'd be rational about it. It's a really, really useful tool to break out of that spiral, that negativity spiral, that fear self-talk. And is it going to be, and the question I got taught this one, is it going to be on the front page of the paper next week? Yeah. No. Is it ever going to make the front page of the paper? No. Well, why are we worrying about that? Yeah. Good question.
Yeah. Check this out, though.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Finish up.
Yeah, sorry. And that really helps me then step into that action, because it stops that fear and breaks that pattern and puts a rational frame around it. And then you're like, okay, well, right, let's step forward. And then I can step forward. So, and then, like, I'm human, I've been caught up in that spiral negativity talking, but being aware of that is the first step. Being conscious about it when you're in that loop, going, right, okay, I'm in the loop. Change actions, do something, break the pattern. Being self-aware, that's one of the biggest keys.
Exactly. What if we use the fear? What if we took that fear and instead of us having it stop us, what if we had it do the exact opposite for it? What if we could transform that fear into forward momentum, into go juice that gets us towards our ultimate outcome? See, here's the thing. I believe that we can, right? We're motivated by a couple things in life. I learned this from Tony Robbins, right? We're motivated to either, number one, avoid pain or gain pleasure. We will always do more to avoid pain. So why do I share this? What is the fear, or what will I be left with if I don't take these actions? See, I can use that fear. I can transform it instead of, oh my God, what if I step forward and something happens, or I put something out here that someone doesn't like? So be it. People are always going to judge. Haters are going to hate. This is the way it's going to be. If you're operating out of that place of integrity from your heart, you can't go wrong. Even if people don't like your shit, you still can't go wrong. But here's the thing. Utilizing that fear as fuel. I love this principle because the energy's there. What do we know about energy? Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, only transformed. Let's use that fear as fuel. Let's recognize right up front the fear if we don't take that action, if we choose to stay in that place of procrastination. Now, for me, with my mission, with my purpose in life and business, I quickly recognize that for me to stay stagnant, for me to not do anything, that hurt me more than anything. There was a fear that all this knowledge that I have would go to waste. Now that, any of you know me, that drives me absolutely crazy, right? How am I using that fear? I'm recognizing that if I don't take action, not even if, when I don't take action, I'm not serving the greater good. I'm not serving the people out there. I'm not making a great big impact. Now that is a genuine fear for me that actually fuels me forward. It gets me taking those steps. It doesn't have me saying, oh, geez, you know what, Mick, I got some plans today. I can't go on Insider's Elite Live Show because blah, blah, blah. Really, that's just a bunch of bullshit. No, now, and this happens for us. We've shared this on the show before, and I know this happens all the time. I get excited about it. Mick, he shared with me, he launches out of bed because he's excited to do this. Could he be doing other things at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning? Sure, he could. But he looks forward to this. Much like myself, I get excited. I finished up a lot of my work today quite a bit earlier on, a couple hours ago. So what did I do? I did some more work that brought my program further forward. I did some work that moved the needle for me. I could have gone home and sat on my ass and done nothing. But there was that fear that I utilized to move it forward. See, fear can actually be your ally. Fear can get you to the ultimate outcome. Fear can really help you. I would challenge anyone out there, practice that, try that. Take a look at that fear. How can you reverse it? How can you spin it 180 so that you're actually using that fear as fuel? Many of us are hey, if I don't move forward, this isn't going to happen. But what about the fact, if I don't take these steps, if I don't put this action into motion, I'll never achieve what it is that I really truly desire in life. That's a big one. Ask the right question. Utilize that fear to really propel you forward. Let's talk about fear in other people, and let's talk a little bit about judgment as well. Is it okay if we go there?
I'd love to go there, Jamie. That's something that I've spoken a lot about and actually done some reading. I've just read a book on fear and the judgment and stuff. So I'm really excited for this one. This is a good topic.
Definitely. Bring it on. Where do we start on that one? Fear in others. Maybe it's a protectionism thing. Maybe it is whatnot. How does fear in others have an impact in our lives and businesses? What have you read and what would you like to share with us about that?
So fear in others. So for me, where it shows up and where it has the biggest impact on my life is if somebody else has a really big fear mindset, and you have to interact with them, or they're part of your herd, or they're part of your community, or even if that you know, business associates or something, and they have a really big fear mindset, that has a huge impact because that limits the way they come up and what they do. So if, say, you have a business interaction, a business partner that's really fearful, then there's an opportunity and they get caught in this fear mindset and they don't want to come into it, or they're struggling to come to terms with an opportunity because they've got this fear mindset. So the way you interact, so fear in other people has a huge impact. And then the other part of that, that question was in judgment. So I've heard this a number of times now, and what you judge in others is something you haven't owned inside yourself. What?
That's huge.
And I can hear you all saying, "Oh no, that's bullshit." No, that guy's a douchebag. I'm not a douchebag. You know, he's rude. Oh, that's why I don't like him. That's why I'm judging him, because look at the way he carries on. What you judge in others is something that you haven't owned deep down inside yourself. And now I had that exact when I read that the first time, I was like, yeah, that's rubbish. There's no way that's got any merit. And then it came up again, and then I heard about it again, and then again, and then I went, maybe there's some merit in this. And the more and more I looked into it, reflecting internally at where I've judged somebody, I'm like, what am I not owning inside myself? And every single time there's deep down, there's something there that I haven't owned. And it's not necessarily saying that that's how you're going to be, but you need to own the possibility that that emotion or that behavior is inside of you as well. You're not going to do that because doesn't align with your values. That doesn't necessarily mean you own it and that's what you're going to go and do, be that nasty person picking on people or whatever it is. But you've got to be able to own the possibility that that emotion or that behavior is inside of you, because if you can't, then you're going to judge that person all the time. And it's a really, really powerful tool. And I've been exposed to it, been experienced where people have judged me, and I'm like, well, that's okay. They just haven't owned that in themselves now. So when you come from that place, judgment doesn't matter anymore, because they might be judging this shit out of you. And I'm like, well, that's okay. You can judge me. That's just because you haven't owned it in you yet. And then they look at you and go, what? And they're confused. And that's their problem. Once they own it inside themselves, they'll stop judging you. It doesn't make you feel any better, but it's a way more powerful place to come from than go, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. They've judged me. Oh, no. And it really, really ruins your mindset when you just go, that's okay. You just haven't owned it inside of you yet. I'm okay with that. You can judge me if you want.
Exactly. Now, some people might say that's a deflection mechanism, right? I'm not saying I do. I think what you've shared is some absolutely outstanding gold with us here today. But some people might say that, well, that's just a deflectionism. That's just, you know what, you passing it off or whatnot. Do we give that value, that type of feedback, or do we simply reiterate that same message, right? I'm glad you feel that way. That's certainly that. You know, you're entitled to your opinion. I see something different, and this is what I see. Thank you so much. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, look, again, that's everybody's entitled to their opinion. And if we all had the same opinion, we wouldn't be the people we are today. We'd all be the same. A whole global team of robots. So our opinions and our beliefs and our values are what make up us as human beings. So our values and our beliefs and what how we're brought up is what we base our opinions on or our judgments on. You know, if I come across somebody and I see them and I say hello, and I might make a small judgment of that person, or whether they're a person I want to say hello to or not. Like, you're constantly making decisions about people based on your opinion or based on your beliefs. So it's okay for people to have different opinions, and I absolutely love that approach, and I use it all the time. I'm like, that's okay, you're entitled to that opinion. I have a different one, and I'm okay with that. I don't need to justify my opinion or explain or trying to convince them that their opinion's wrong. You can just outline what your opinion is. They can outline yours, and just be okay with different opinions. And that's something that I've found. If I don't have to try and convince, if absolutely having 100% confidence that it's okay that everyone has different opinions, that really changes the game. So instead of trying to convince the other people to have your opinion and imagine all that energy you spend in half an hour or an hour convincing them to have the same opinion as you about whatever the topic is. If you spent that energy doing something else, if you went, that's okay, you can have a different opinion. I'm all right with that. Like, if you'd like to know more about my opinion, ask. But that's okay. And then you spent that energy doing something to move you forward or something constructive, instead of spending all of that energy just trying to convince somebody to have the same opinion as you because of some fear of judgment or fear that they're different. As people, we like people like ourselves. So when someone different comes along, it's a natural reaction inside to want them to like you or want them to be similar to you. Like people like themselves. That's why you're drawn to people. That's why I'm drawn to Jamie, because we have the similar values and we like people like ourselves. So it's a natural reaction. But once you can own that and move past that ability to convince everybody to like you, to like your opinion or to share the same opinion as you, and Jamie and I have different opinion on things. We have good conversations about things, and that's okay that we have different opinions because we're not the same person. And I don't spend all my energy trying to convince him that I'm right. I accept his opinion and we have a conversation. And that changes things. It shifts the energy. You're not spending all this energy proving you're right. You're spending it on constructive things and move forward. I think that's a huge game changer. And when I realized that was a massive shift for me.
Yeah, that's huge. And here's a formula. There's actually a formula for growth, right? And it has to do with differences. Differences multiplied by collaboration equals growth. That is the formula for growth. Differences multiplied by collaboration. Let's face it, 10, 15 years ago, I always like picking on Elon Musk because he's a little bit of a wild dude. But 10, 15 years ago, if he would have said, no, I'm going to come out with a company that's all electric vehicles and it's going to be rated higher than General Motors and Toyota combined, people would have thought he was an absolute idiot and moron, right? Dude, that's not going to happen. That's impossible. That'll never, ever, ever be. You're an idiot, right? People disagreeing with his opinion. What do we have now, though? There was an article I read a couple of years ago as well, and it was in Australia. Didn't Elon go over there, put a great big solar farm in, and a town is now completely running on it? They were able to, eliminate a bunch of the problems that town was having. It's running pretty much all on that solar energy and just kicking ass. Who would have thought that?
That was huge. So in South Australia, they have a whole stack of solar power and wind power. And they have no base load in South Australia, which is like power stations and things. So when you have dips or problems, there's no base load, and solar needs a base load to link into. So there was a massive storm, and the main connecting power line that went across to Victoria fell down, and the whole state had no power for weeks.
Wow.
So it was crazy because they had no base load, and Elon said, I can solve your problem. I'll put a massive battery system in there and I'll have it delivered in 120 days. And
major differences of opinion there, right? I'd say there's probably some major judgment around that too. And didn't he come in just slightly under budget and under time as well?
Yep. Under budget, under time, and absolutely crushed the delivery. It was on point, and that was a game changer for the state. And everyone was like, oh, American thinks he can solve the world's problems. There was lots of heated debate. I don't watch a lot of the news, but in the news, it was all over the news about the opinions from every different angle and every newsreader, and they getting experts in. Is this possible? Is it, and it was crazy. And he delivered,
Yeah.
That's why he is where he is in business.
Absolutely. What we want to remember is so many people are going to have opinions. We all know the saying about opinions. They're like assholes. Everyone's got one. But here's the thing. Who do you have to believe the most? The answer behind that is quite simple. Believe in yourself. Even if you don't have the exact how to be able to do this, even if you don't know the exact steps or what, believe. Did good old Mr. Musk there, did he know every single thing that he was going to do completely calculated? Hell no, he had to grow. I watched when he did his truck there, Cybertruck, when he put that out. Did he expect himself to be able to take that bat and actually break the window? No, his expectation was that the windows would be fine. He hits it and he broke his steel glass, right? These were unexpected outcomes. But this all comes back. Did he worry about it? No. Right? Was he worried about judgment? Oh my God, he's a complete failure because this happened. No, he didn't go to that place. He persevered. He kept working with it. He moved forward to achieve that outcome. It comes back to that antidote of fear. What's the antidote of fear? What's the antidote of procrastination? Right? Because procrastination comes from fear. I'll tell you straight up. Even though it might be, well, no, I'm feeling lazy today. No, that's bullshit. You're telling yourself a story. You don't want to do it because of some other reason. The absolute truth and fact of the matter is that there is a fear behind it. You want to go look for some sort of smaller win, clean the desk or whatnot. We've all seen that out there. Yeah. When it comes to judgment, we can't be worried about that. Judgment can help us. Judgment can show us gaps if we're adult enough and if we're emotionally capable enough to be able to take it on. Is everyone going to like it? No. Am I going to tell you to go change all your stuff just because one person gives you a shitty review? No. But if 100 people watch and 100 people give you a negative review, there might be something to think about there, right? Is it an opportunity to refine? Sure it is. The only way you're going to get that experience, though, the only way you're ever going to gain that feedback is if you go and take the steps to make it happen. That is the number one biggest thing that I could share in anything when it comes to fear is go and take the steps. People will judge. Haters are going to hate. Fear from others. Let me talk about that for a little bit moment here. I see a lot of protectionism mindset kicking in. Oh my God, that's mine. I can't share. I can't do this. I can't do that. But I'll tell you what really works. I'll tell you what really happens. I've got my group of amazing, absolutely outstanding real estate wholesalers that I work with. And one of the things that's absolutely sweeping this group is the idea of service first. They're doing it without fear. Some of them shared with me today that they're doing a deal right now that helps someone out of a bind. They didn't make anything on it. Now, they're not in the practice of not making money. They're in the practice of making money. But they stepped up. They didn't do it with fear. They didn't say, well, my God, because we do it once, everything's going to fall apart. They saw the opportunity to step up, to stick to their values in the company. And because of that, the referrals, the absolute raving fan client that they've gained, you can't put a price tag on that. See, they didn't let fear lead them. They didn't let fear be that dominant emotion from which they are operating from. And because of that, they're experiencing radical success. Fear is going to hold you back from your ultimate outcome. Fear is going to hold you back from saying, yeah, these are my goals. These are my intended results and outcomes, and I'm going to hit them. Fear will fuck with you, and fear will stop you because fear, it activates the enemy. It activates every single thing, every single idea or thought that will prevent you from moving forward. Now, here's the thing. Mick touched on this earlier. It's wired into our brains. Right? Fight, flight, or freeze. That's all that lower brain knows. Fight, flight, or freeze. We're battling that all the time. It's that lower brain that's trying to control. When we get into a situation that makes us uncomfortable, what happens? Boom, lower brain kicks into gear. Fight, flight, freeze. Fight, flight, freeze. What am I going to do? Well, what if we did something else? What if we actually enabled that upper brain to put some logical, rational thought process into place and recognize, hey, this isn't going to be in the newspaper tomorrow. This isn't going to be in the newspaper the next day. What if instead of fear, we converted the fear into a curiosity mindset? I wonder what difference this could make. I wonder who this could help. I wonder what could happen when I go ahead and take these steps right now. That's a game changer. That's going to absolutely change everything up. The best way to conquer fear, number one, change that state, change that mindset. I talk about that in my program, The Pentagon of Power, just a small, short little program that I've put together. And it's amazing for absolutely conquering and crushing fear. It is a mindset. It is a cognitive belief system, CBS. That's what we've got going on when we're in that fear. If I do this, this will happen. If I do this, this will happen. But is that really true? Does that happen in every circumstance? What evidence do you have to back up that fear? When we begin to question fear with quality questions, right? Not, oh my God, what else can go wrong? Right? You ask for what else can go wrong, boom, you're going to get a whole boatload of what else can go wrong. Instead, challenge that fear. Is this really true? What evidence do I have to back this up, that this is the outcome? Now, these are logical questions. These are very methodical, logical questions, and they have the ability to completely radically change the game for you. If you're fearing something that could be irrational, that's something that's coming up, it's like, oh my God, if I do this, I'm going to die. Well, is that really true? Well, probably not. Is there any proof you have? No, right? Are you exaggerating this a little bit? Yeah, I'm exaggerating it a whole lot. I'm not really going to die. We have to recognize the language that we're using, the patterns around it. If we're amplifying that negative emotion, that negative thought, that negative belief around that fear, hell yes, we're going to feel fear. All we're doing is serving to amplify it. Get curious about it. Change the perspective on the fear. When I go ahead and take these actions, what impact will it have for me? Will it feel good? Will it be good for others? And will it serve the greater good? Ooh, look at those questions. Those don't fuel fear. Those completely change the game, because when you start saying, yeah, you know what, it might not feel good at first. Standing up in front of people, standing up in front of the whole freaking World Wide Web and saying this stuff, at first it felt like shit. Mick said it, right? It was scary as hell. Now, second nature. We love it. We love the comments, good, bad, everything, ugly. Bring them on. We want to see them. But quite literally, it becomes an addiction because it feels good to do this, right? Doesn't it feel good, Mick, getting up here?
Yeah, it feels awesome.
Right? Feels awesome. Is it good for others? Yeah, we're sharing valuable content, right? Is it good for me? Is it good for you? Yes, right? We don't do big self-promotion or anything. That's never been our thing. Our idea behind these is to serve. We don't charge for this. We don't do anything. We don't, boast up our own services or anything. Yeah, sure, we got a couple logos at the bottom of the screen, but that's about it. We're not here to sell anything with these. We are truly here to serve. So, does it feel good? Fucking feels amazing for me. And Brother Mick, I know it feels absolutely amazing for you as well, right? Does it serve the greater good? Well, we'd certainly like to think so, because we're just doing what we know. We're working from the heart. We're speaking from the heart. And when you do that, I have the personal belief that you cannot go wrong. Thoughts?
Look, I agree with you 100% there, Jamie. And like there's always going to be fear in your life. There is always going to be fear. Jamie and I still have fears in our life. I guarantee you 100%. But the question I'm going to pose to you as the audience to have a good look is there something in your life that you want to achieve that you haven't yet? And then the question I'm going to ask is, well, what's holding you back? And I can hear you all saying now, oh, well, I haven't had the time to do this, and I'm waiting for this to happen, and this time of year, and I've just got to see this other person, and once they've done that, then I can do that. Yeah. Deep down, there's a fear inside of you holding you back, stopping you from taking that action. And I know this because I've done a lot of work, and I dig, and when there's something holding me back, I ask, okay, well, what's the fear in here? And it might not show up, and it might take you weeks to work it out, and it's taken me months to work it out sometimes. But every time there's a fear or something holding you back. So I'm going to ask you this. If there's something you want to achieve in your life, whether it's personal, professional, relationships, love, anything at all, work out what it is you want to achieve. I'm sure that you could all list 20 things you want to do with yourself and go, well, why haven't I done that yet? And have a good hard look at what the fear is in there. And use some of the tips and strategies that Jamie and I have put out today to try and make that next step, to try and take the step past it, to rationalize the fear, to control it, to take action. And momentum is one of the biggest tools you're going to use against fear. Fear is powerful if you give it momentum, but fear is weak and irrelevant if you've got momentum in what you want to do. So, like Jamie mentioned before, taking action is an antidote to fear. So take that step forward. Take a small little step and get a win and build that success evidence in your head. Well, that wasn't that bad, actually. I did that action. I went to that. I wanted to get into real estate. I went to that real estate seminar. Wasn't that scary? I started reading that book on real estate. I looked on a job for real estate. Take the steps, whatever it is you want to achieve. And, it's so versatile, but these things will set you up for success in your life. So look at what it is. What's the fear inside? And it's okay to have fear. Yep. We've all got it. It's just not letting it control you is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Recognizing it and still taking a step forward, not ignoring it, recognizing it, and then moving forward, not giving it the energy, because fear and Andrea, who was watching, just commented this: fear in others feeds fear. So not giving fear the energy so that it builds momentum and becomes this huge big thing that's holding you back now. Yep. Recognize it, take a step, keep it in its place.
Yeah. Fear wants to be fed. Fear wants to be fed. So starve it. Starve it. Don't give it that attention. Don't give it that energy. Don't give it exactly what it's going to feed on to grow bigger, right? What do we say? You know, we want to kill that fear. We want to crush that fear, or at the very least, convert it into energy that moves you forward. We can do that. We can transform that energy. We all have the ability within us. It comes down to asking some quality questions. It comes down to getting really clear on where you're going, what your outcome is, what it is you truly desire. Figure that out. Take a look at that. What is it that you truly desire? What is it your business truly desires? How can you get there? Well, the answer to that is simple. Serve like no other. Serve like you've never served before. Come with a servant's mindset in, and you will beat out everyone. Now, there's a new segment I want to introduce into the show here before we wrap it up. I came up with this earlier in the week. Even Mick doesn't know about this. He's like, what the hell? You dropping something new on me? I don't even know about this. I'll tell you what, though. Who hit it and who didn't? So what we want to do is we want to see some opportunities. We want to have just a quick little discussion on it. Just who really hit something out of the park for you this week, and maybe who didn't. Now, this could be a business. This could be someone that you've worked with or whatnot. But we want to start to really recognize, what does that really great service look like? What does someone look like who's gone above and beyond? I'll share. I'll start out. What didn't hit it for me this week was Walmart. I ordered a gazebo, nice little gazebo. I want to put on my deck and all that. And it was a challenge. I know Walmart's in the hunt to compete directly with Amazon. And I let them know in no uncertain terms that they have about 1 million kilometers, 1 million miles to go if they want to think of even coming close to competing with Amazon. It was a bit of a debacle. Maybe it's a Canadian thing, I don't know, but it was a challenge and it was a struggle. Now, who hit it out of the park for me? We've got this amazing, little restaurant there, Poke. I like Poke, a Hawaiian thing. They take the raw fish, they put the spicy mayo and everything on it and all that. Love it. Absolutely freaking love it. And there's this great little place called Steve's Poke Bar. Now, they've got small little locations. Some are like in strip malls, some are in the actual malls themselves and all that. Regardless of where we've gone, the service has been impeccable. I'm talking different towns. I'm talking different places. They smile, they engage with you, they make it a real, true customer experience. And I can really talk about them from this perspective because I sampled. I went to different locations. It didn't matter where I went. It didn't matter what town I was in. Those values of that company and how they treat their customers, that for me was a complete, absolute, total win. Knocked it out of the park. Huge fan of Steve's Poke Bar. Mick, who hit it out? Who didn't for you?
So for me, I'll start with who didn't. Yesterday we had a client. I'm not going to name names. But they wanted some equipment changed over. So we've never done business with them before. They reached out. We do business at the site where they were going to install this equipment. And they said, it's turning up at 9 o'clock Friday night. And it's a long weekend here. So, everybody's leaving town, camping, spending time with their family. We asked around. All of the guys were all away working except for the 2 blokes on call. So we said, well, we can't do it at 9 o'clock. The store's closed. After today, it's closed until Tuesday, so it's not really a big deal. But they were putting a lot of pressure and getting managers involved, sending us emails saying it has to be done. It's going to be there. This company's going to be really upset if you don't get it done. Putting a load of pressure on us, trying to force us to get our employees to work when they don't want to, like 9 o'clock on a Friday night on a long weekend when they should be spending time with their family. So that was pretty disgraceful. I think pretty poor. So we sorted it out. We spoke to the store. Everything was cool. They said, just do it on Tuesday, man. Don't worry about it. So it wasn't actually the store putting the pressure on. It was them. We resolved the problem, but I thought that was pretty poor form. The way they did that. And who hit it out of the park for me this week is I'm gonna double dip. There's a local hardware store here. So I sent an order to Bunnings. I sent a quote to Bunnings and a quote to the local hardware store. Still haven't received a quote back from Bunnings. The other guys have sent me the quote, delivered the goods, all done, dusted, rang up and said, hey, small portion of the order is not going to be in stock till Tuesday. Is that a problem? I can deliver everything else. Yep, no problem. Great service. And the other one is I pulled up at the front of my local coffee shop, Treen, who was on the show a couple months back. I pulled up at the front of the coffee shop, and this wasn't Treen. This was just one of her girls. I was on the phone. They saw that I was on the phone from inside the coffee shop, brought my coffee out to me in the car and said, here you go. Have a lovely day. You can't get much better than that.
Wow.
So
that's it. That's it. Here, this is a shout out to everyone who here's watching at this point here. We want to know about who's really hitting it out of the park for you. We would love the opportunity to get their business seen or heard. And if you're looking to get your business seen or heard, we want to have you on the show. We want to see you step up and say, hey, I'd like to get my brand out there. We are all about seeing businesses grow. If you're not getting that traction that you want, that your business deserves, we would love to have you on the show, highlight your business. We're not one of those shows that says, oh, you can't have an offer. We want you to have an offer. Tell us how your product, your service can make a difference for other businesses out there, individuals out there, whoever it is. We want to highlight that. We want to get some traction for you. Again, the winners, we want to see it all. We want to see who's really hitting it out of the park, who's absolutely crushing it, because we want to celebrate the heck out of that. And if you've got something that needs to get out there, that needs to be seen, across all these different channels, we want to be the ones to be able to provide you that service. We're broadcasting across YouTube, across LinkedIn, across Periscope, tons of different Facebook locations. We're hitting it out there. So if we can get you some traction, we would be absolutely honored to do that. Send either Mick or myself a quick DM. We would love to have you on the show. With that said, Mick, any last thoughts?
I absolutely love that little segment, Jamie, who hit it out of the park and who didn't. And chuck it in the comments, who hit it out of the park for you, who didn't. And next week's show, we'll jump in and we'll talk about those. So I want to see some comments. I'll be pumped if I see a few comments in there. And thank you to everyone who watches every week. Really appreciate it. And like Jamie said, if there's anything you want to talk about, anything you want to be on the show, anyone you want us to feature on the show, anyone you want us to go and try and get on the show, chuck it in the comments, send us a DM. We'd love to do best to serve you guys. So have an outstanding weekend and see you next week.
Big love, everyone.